Hey there everyone, Mychal A. Bryan here with another astrological question and answer segment where real astrologers bring me their questions and I provide them answers based on my astrological practice.
Hi, I just wanted to ask really quickly about the Aries Point in Natal Astrology. What's the best way to utilize it in terms of like house placement, aspects, whatever advice you have on Aries Point in the Natal?
Awesome. So this next question has to do with utilizing the Aries point within natal astrology. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Aries point is what we call 0 degrees of the 4 cardinal signs collectively. So 0 degrees Aries, 0 degrees Cancer, 0 degrees Libra, and 0 degrees Capricorn is collectively known as the Aries point. Why? Because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and at some point in time, somebody thought that it would be clever to just call this entire cardinal cross the Aries point. So we can call it the Aries point, we can call it the cardinal cross, we can call it the world axis. All of these terms are essentially synonymous. Why is this such a significant point within our charts? The Aries point, or 0 degrees of all the 4 cardinal signs, represents our contact point with the world at large. So when we have planets that are on the cardinal axis or even in hard aspect to the cardinal axis, by the major hard aspects of the conjunction, the square, and the opposition, or even the minor hard aspects of the semi-square or the sesquiquadrate, it says to us that those planets are specifically how we are plugging into the world at large. Those planets specifically demarcate how we experience the world at large, and those planets have an extra level of emphasis within our lives. Now, clearly, this makes more sense for the traditional planets of Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and the Moon. Clearly, we cannot own this in a personal way for planets such as Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and I dare say even Chiron, if Chiron is something that you include within your practice. And even within only using the traditional planets, clearly this is something that's going to be far more effective for the faster moving of the traditional planets, such as Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and the Moon. So the point of the matter is, within all things, there is a hierarchy, and that's the hierarchy of how we would look at the importance of the planets when they come on the cardinal axis. Now, if I have a planet that is on the cardinal axis at all, I'm going to view that planet as having an extra layer of visibility within my charts. I once heard a great Uranian astrologer by the name of Faith McInerney, who's a dear friend of mine, say that when planets are on the Aries point or when planets are on the cardinal axis, that is essentially the same as those planets being angular. So when a planet is on the cardinal axis, it receives this additional layer of visibility and prominence within our lives that is comparable to that planet itself being angular. And that's how I tend to view this concept as well within my life and within my astrological practice. That's really it as far as how to use the Aries point within your own chart. The first thing is we use the traditional hard aspects, which are going to be the square, the opposition, and the conjunction, even though we know that the conjunction isn't really an aspect. And we also use the non-traditional hard aspects, such as the semi-square as well as the sesquiquadrate. When looking for planets that have a hard aspect relationship to the Aries point or the cardinal axis or the world axis or the cardinal cross or whatever you want to call it, those are the aspects that we use. When using those aspects, I personally would feel comfortable using a 1 degree orb. I know some people who would feel comfortable using a 3 degree orb, but the reality is that the tighter the orb, the stronger the impact. Therefore, I would prefer to use a 1 degree orb when referring to planets that are standing on the cardinal axis. And if I have a planet standing on the cardinal axis, for example, if I have Venus on the cardinal axis, then that might say that my contact point with the world around me is one based on artistry or my own artistic endeavors, or one based on beauty and beautifying the world around me. If I have Mercury on the cardinal axis, that might say that children are a very big part of how I connect to the world at large. Maybe I'm working with young children. Maybe I'm working with even small animals. Maybe I'm working with young people in a way where that is becoming how I am known or how I know myself in the world at large. Mercury is also the god of intelligence and communication, so maybe I'm also working in a fast-moving communicative field or within something where I have to use my mind. Maybe I'm working within the educational field in general, and so on throughout all of the planets. That is the only way how we would use the cardinal axis within our chart. We do not use the cardinal axis based on where 0 degrees Aries is landing within our chart, because it's not a planet that we look for. It is a calculated point in space that we look to see if things are interacting with. So if you just so happen to have 0 degrees Aries floating around in your second house, that does not make your second house prominent, because we do not use it in the static way that we use planets. We use it as a point to which planets can have aspects with or can make aspects to. And that's really the fullness of how we look at the Aries point. If a planet is on the cardinal axis, it's as if that planet has an additional layer of visibility within our lives, and it's as if that planet is how we connect to the world at large. This will always be more true for the 7 classical planets. It will be not true at all for Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and it will be less true for Jupiter and Saturn, just because they are such slow-moving classical planets, and it will be extremely relevant. This idea that planets on the cardinal axis are planets with a bigger layer of visibility and prominence within our lives, it will be extremely relevant for planets such as Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and the Moon. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome so much.